Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Janet. Namaste. And today I have a special guest for you, and it is one of my greatest friends and also world renowned healer, Rob Wergin. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. You are one of my greatest friends as well.
Oh, thank you. And
Absolutely.
Rob Wergin, he is an empath, he is a world renowned healer, and he is the four clairs, which is clairvoyance, which he's able to see, claircognizance, which is the knowing, the clairsentient, as well of feeling, and clairaudient, able to hear spirit as well. And Rob is featured as one of the healers in the documentary film Heal, which is one of my favorite documentaries. If you haven't watched it, please go right now after this interview and really take a look. And he was there featured along with Deepak Chopra, Michael Beckwith, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, and others amazing pioneers in the metaphysical world and in the healing world. So in 2003, Rob found himself engulfed in a period of really of, I guess, what we would call an obstacle in life, right? It was really a deep despair where he embarked on this journey, his search for purpose and the meaning of his life. So, to his amazement, he received this beautiful answer from the divine source, which led him onto his path of healing and of healing others. So, since that time, he has dedicated his life to contributing this uplifting benefit, which is his innate gift of healing and the welfare of others, of probably over 200,000 people thus far. And it's only like exponentially, like every year, getting more and more because people are finally awakening and waking up to the divine source of this beautiful healing. So Rob draws inspiration from both rich traditions and works with people with of all ages, religions, of spiritual persuasions, and Rob also believes, which I'm sure you're going to share with everyone, that less than loving physical, mental, and emotional experiences, things that we have gone through, it creates this density that is inside of us, this stagnation, this spiritual blockage, and also that could lead to physical disease. And through this, however, these blocks that he speaks about, these are actually gifts. It's from the divine. And these are gifts created by our soul and by the divine, powerful package that we cannot ignore. So through his amazing gifts, through his hands-on healing and now Zoom sessions, which really are, I've experienced numerous of these Zoom sessions, they are actually, I feel, more powerful than actually hands-on, although personally I love seeing you in person. But these hands-on divine energy transmission, Rob helps to clear away old patterns in the most loving way, these belief systems that probably have been there for in our DNA, that has been there in our ancestral lineage for decades. And this is a process, it's a gentle process where if you just surrender to belief and trust and faith, it releases pain, disease, addictions. And I personally have seen miracles with my clients that I have referred, and miracles that you have created a miracle in my life. You've helped facilitate that. So I thank you. So Rob, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is such an honor to have you. And I really would love to discuss this beautiful journey of awakening, and would love if you would share with our audience how you aligned with your divine's life purpose.
Well, first of all, that's the nicest introduction I've ever had anyone give me. So seriously, I'm always a little nervous when people are going to do an introduction because I'm never quite sure what they're going to say. But that was pristine. I hope you send me a copy of it so I can give it to people as a roadmap for introductions. But thank you.
I certainly will.
Thank you. You know, my life has been so amazing. I just turned 72 this year, and I never in my wildest imagination ever thought that at age 72 I would be doing what I'm doing. Not in a million years. I thought I was going to make a lot of money as a businessman, retire in my early 50s, have a house in Santa Barbara, have a house in Aspen, travel the world, and just be one of those disgusting people that had a lot of money. that was kind of my life. But if we go back to my childhood, which is, excuse me, where I'd like to start is, I was born with the four clairs, like you said, and as a little boy, I thought everybody had that ability to see and hear and all those things, and I just thought everybody could do that. And I was always getting in trouble though, because I would say to my mom, "Your great grandfather's standing next to you, and he's telling me to tell you this," and she'd punish me for saying things, or I would know things that nobody else knew, or I would heal animals and do all these things as a child, but just thinking that I was doing God's work, because the truth is my parents were German immigrants, Missouri Synod Lutherans, very strict Christians. They were more concerned with the Bible and going to church and reading from the Bible and honoring the 10 Commandments than they were pretty much anything else. And so we were raised that way. And so for me to come across a rabbit that was in my yard or in my trail that had been hurt, and just simply say, "God, would you please help this rabbit?" And then touch the rabbit and feel all this energy, and then the rabbit would kind of hop around and then be fine. I just thought that I was doing what I was taught as a young Lutheran boy, ask, pray to God and see what happens. So that's what I was doing. But by the time I was about 7 years old, my parents had especially my mom, had enough of my, as she said, doing devil work. She was convinced I was possessed. And I would argue with her and say, "But if I was really possessed, wouldn't the rabbit explode or turn into fire or something bad happen to the rabbit if I was doing devil's work?" And she'd say, "No, you're being tricked. You're being tricked by the devil." And, so I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it at all, but they had an exorcism done me when I was about 7 years old, which, people usually gasp when I say that, but what I say is that the truth is that was one of the greatest gifts my parents could have given me, because what they did was, instead of taking what could have been a great sideshow or a circus act, doing these amazing healings, they shut me down from that, which allowed me to have a normal human life. And so, from age 7 until age 54, I had a normal human life. I've been married several times, bankrupt, had all kinds of different diagnoses, some really severe and life-threatening diseases. I overused drugs, overused alcohol. I mean, I'm not proud of my past. I'm not proud of what I did. However, what I am proud of is what it taught me. And what it taught me, this life that I didn't understand at the time, because from 7 years old until my 50s, I had no idea what the four clairs were, or I had no idea that I had them, right? I always knew things. I always sensed things. People would always gravitate to me. When I was this big, successful CEO with a corner office, people would come and stand outside my office all the time. And my assistants would say, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "We have a headache. And if I stand here for a few minutes, I know my headache will go away." So I just thought that was interesting, but I never tied it backwards to being a kid doing things. I just thought, probably feels good to be next to the CEO. I don't know. It was some ego. I had an ego answer, not a spiritual answer.
Right.
So anyway, all my life, I had no idea. I didn't remember my childhood. I collected crystals. I collected feathers. I had every book written on spiritism, Native American healing, South American healing, shamanism, Christian healing, all these things. I had all these books that I never read, and I had all these feathers, and I had these cards that I used to draw. My favorite is Sacred Path cards. I used to draw cards and do card spreads, and I just thought, why am I doing this? This is so weird. And I had this crystal, which is always with me on my desk as a CEO. And people would say, "Why do you have that crystal?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just like it." So my adult life, I played hard. I worked hard. And if you would have asked me the day before I had this life-changing experience in 2003, if I was religious, I would have said, "No, I'm an atheist." And if you would have asked me if I believed in past lives or anything spiritual, I'd say, "No, that's a bunch of BS." So I was pretty adamant about my beliefs on February 21st, 2003. But then on February 22nd, 2003, I attempted to kill myself. And, you know, I had gone from being fabulously wealthy to completely poor. I had less than $1 to my name. I had to beg for money to eat. Everything I owned was being repossessed. I mean, you know, when you referred to that earlier, that's what was happening. I had my total identity as a rich, powerful businessman taken away from me, and all of a sudden I felt like I was naked in the middle of the street with nothing. And I'd been stripped. And as I look at my life now, I see all the opportunities I had. You know, I call them billboards. You know, I'm driving down the road in my Porsche, and there's a billboard that says, "Hey Rob, hey Rob, hey Rob, hey Rob, hey Rob." But I'm too busy driving my Porsche to read the billboard, which was spiritual information, right? So I
Yep.
mean, I can see it now. I didn't see it then. So finally, after driving by too many billboards, they said, "Oh yeah, watch this. We're gonna smack you." And so they smacked me hard. I tried to kill myself, and I'm a chicken, so I took a bunch of pills. I didn't do anything, you know, physical. And God Goddess came to me, or whoever that is. I can't prove any of this. I just know what I know. And I was told to remember what I did as a child, that I simply would ask God to help somebody and let them use my body to put their energy through me to the person. And I would get completely out of the way, watch it happen, know that it wasn't me, and at the end say thank you. So it was really simple. It's like ask God, get out of the way, say thank you. Boom, done. And so that's, you know, that's the really short story, but and I had to have a lot of encouragement after that. I had lots of miracles appear in front of me. Things happened that couldn't be explained. And so over a period of a few months, they got my attention. They showed me that this is all real and true and absolute. And with absolute certainty, I knew that what they had told me was real. And that was 17 and a half years ago and 200,000 people ago. And, you know, I wouldn't change a thing. I've always said that when the day happens that I wake up in the morning, I'm not excited about the possibility of that day, then it's time for me to retire. And I don't expect that anytime soon.
I
I
don't either.
think I'm going to be doing this until I take my last breath. So I don't care. I mean, I don't have any intention to retire. I hope that I stay healthy. You know, I'm one of those few 72-year-olds that takes absolutely no medication. I have absolutely nothing wrong with me. My blood pressure is perfect. My cholesterol is perfect. Everything's perfect. And yeah, I eat really carefully, but I'm being divinely taken care of. You know, when I lost everything and people say, "What are you going to do?" I'm like, I'm not worried about it because I'm being taken care of. I trust and believe that if I do God's work, I'll be taken care of. So I'm not worried about, you know, I don't look at my bank account. I don't have financial people feeding me information. I don't pay any attention
Okay.
until I have to sign my tax return. And the rest of it, I mean, I treat kids for free. I treat seniors for free. I treat tons of people for free. And I charge those who can afford to pay me. And that's how I make a living. That's my life's work. I'm not rich. I don't care. I don't care, you know. So that's a Reader's Digest version of your question, I guess.
But I'll tell you something, you know, how you said there are certain things that you did in life that you weren't proud of. Those are just experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you
Thank
know,
you.
yeah, they're just experiences. And because of those experiences, it's that beautiful, like, angel of compassion that was there that was trying to get your attention through those billboards. Take a look, Rob, take a look. And you're like, no, no, no. You know, my ego, I just got to keep on moving. I need to keep on moving. And, you know, the world of the materialism of, you know, it's definitely enticing. It's very, you know, seductive also, right? And, but it isn't lasting. And your joy jar is full. It was just like the exterior happiness. But I need to tell you something. Was the date February 22nd, 2003 you just mentioned?
Mhm.
So numerologically, the life path of that number is actually an 11. And so there's no such thing as coincidence, right? That's, that's something that you have taught me as well, that we're all here on this, like, we have our own divine path. We're all connected. And on that day, that life path of February 22nd, 2003, that equals a number 11. And that has to do with, like, the angels are there supporting you.
Mm.
So you weren't a chicken. You were definitely brave to actually hear the voice of the divine. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah, I
thank you
know.
for that. We thank you for that. If it was February 21st, then I don't know about that. Thank God it was the
Yeah,
22nd.
isn't it interesting? Yeah, because it's like I had thought about what I was going to do for days. And
Wow.
I kept saying,
Wow.
no, not today, no, not today. And I'll never forget that morning, I woke up really early that morning and I was so happy. I was so excited. I was like, wow, this is going to be an amazing day. And I knew, my soul knew it, but but I'm like, why am I so excited? I'm going to kill myself, and it's
My
like, no,
goodness.
this is going to be an amazing experience. I'm like, okay. And it was. So,
But it's unbelievable. In life, we go through so many deaths and rebirths, and there's so many out there, especially during this period of time, where there's this level of not trusting in the divine, of fearing that God has punished them for some reason, that this whole, the virus, they're suffering. But my question to you is, does everybody have the ability to heal themselves? Does every single person on this planet have that ability?
my opinion and my belief is yes. And this is what I say all the time, and I'll say it again for you now, and you've heard me say it, I'm sure. The only difference between me and you, I'll put you and me are in the same category. So the only difference between you and I and people that come and see us is the people that come and see us believe that they have to seek somebody outside of themselves to help them, whether it's a physician or a psychic or a healer or a chiropractor,
Yeah.
or doesn't matter, right? The only difference is they believe they have to seek that. And people that are constantly on the internet looking for the next treatment, the next supplement, the next person to go to, are in disbelief that they can do anything themselves. So what happens is they hold themselves in that energy of not being well because they're always in search of a cure for something instead of just allowing themselves
Right.
the cure, right? So what I say is the only difference between Janet and Rob and a lot of people is that disbelief. And if you just believe like I do, like Janet does, that if you ask God for help and you get out of the way and you let go of all your story and all your junk and just let it happen, it will. I see so many people that are stage 4 cancer,
Yeah.
hospice ready. All right, they're about to go to hospice. I see so many people that way. And I've seen people go to hospice and die. And I've seen people not go to hospice and thrive. And the only difference is um, if they've bought into the story they've been told about how their life is going to end and they believe it, or if they say, you know what, I don't like that story. I'm going to create my own story. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to watch my kids have their kids. I'm going to watch my grandkids grow up. I'm going to be at 95 having my birthday party eating chocolate cake. And that's my story. I'm going to believe that story
Yeah.
instead of suffering, dead. And I see it all the time. And I say that to people all the time. And they're like, oh, come on. I'm like, there's a lot of evidence about it. Bruce Lipton's wrote brilliant work.
Hmm. I love him.
My favorite book that he's written is Biology of Belief. He
Yep.
talks about it in that movie, Heal, how we are the only ones that can program our own cells to do exactly what we tell them to do. And if you believe you're going to die in 90 days, you'll probably die within 85 to 90 days. If you believe that you're going to live to be 95 and you really believe it, you're going to live that way. So it's our constant, we've been trained by whatever to search outside of ourselves for healing, whether it's a drug or a doctor or a healer or a shaman or a sage or who cares. We're
Yep.
always looking for the cure. right. And I've actually, just before I came to this, I was meeting with a book editor who's going to help me finally finish my book. And my book is
Can't
called,
wait.
are you ready? Have I told you the title of my book?
No, but I've been asking you to write a book for
Well, it's
years.
almost done. So the title of my book is this: Illness is the Cure. Because my belief is that, just like with me, so
True.
I look at my life as, you know, my life is my truth, right? I know what I've experienced and I know what I've gone through, and I use that as my truth. I use it in my teaching, I use it in my healing. And so what I know to be true is that your soul will, you know, we all are driving by our billboards. Every one of us is driving by our billboards, you know, and we're not paying attention because we're on our phone now, or we're searching for a healer or whatever. We're not reading the billboards. And at some point your soul goes, you know what? I'm going to get Rob's attention. He's not paying attention. I'm going to get his attention.
Yeah.
I'm going to create pain in his lower abdomen, and he's going to go to the doctor, and the doctor's going to tell him he's got pancreatic cancer. That ought to get his attention. And so the diagnosis is your billboard,
Yes.
your cosmic 2x4, your awareness check that says, hey, you've been ignoring, you haven't changed your lifestyle, you haven't changed your diet, you haven't moved from New York, you haven't left that job, you haven't left that relationship, whatever it is, you're still drinking or drugging or whatever. And your soul is saying to you now, hey, Rob, we're going to get your attention because you haven't been paying attention. Here's your opportunity to be cured. And we're going to give you an illness that's going to give you the opportunity and the incentive, if you choose, to change your life. Cure whatever it is that you've been carrying for lifetimes. Or the illness can let you move on and come back and do this again, right? So to me, when somebody tells you have fibromyalgia or Crohn's disease or Lyme disease or stage 4 cancer or whatever it is, it's your soul saying, hey, we've packaged up all your crap that you have been avoiding all your lifetimes, and we're presenting it in a way that you can't ignore anymore because you've been ignoring all the signs up until now. So a diagnosis is a gift. An illness is a gift. COVID is a gift. COVID is giving people the opportunity to let go of their fear, take care of their bodies, boost their immune systems, and watch what happens with the world that's changing in front of us in a way that hasn't changed for 25,000 years. So my belief is COVID is the ultimate 2x4 to this world who's gone completely crazy with greed and power and corruption and lies. And the only way that the beings that we all work with can create change is to create this great pandemic that's sweeping through the world, that's exposing everything. It's exposing all the political corruption, all the financial corruption, all the drug corruption. Everything's being exposed. Relationships are breaking down. Things are happening. Everything's breaking down. Yeah. People are dying. You know, it's all good because it's the only way that it's the illness called COVID, that's the cure for not only everybody on the world, but the planet itself. So that's my book right there.
I love that. And I agree with you 100% because we always have these like knocks, you know, our souls knocking and knocking and knocking.
Hey,
yes.
Excuse me.
Exactly. Like, wait, sorry, I don't have time. Wait, I have to post something. Wait, I have to do something. Wait, I have to launch something. You know, we're always looking outside of ourselves also for the answers, not waiting, not realizing that our soul that's within us always has the answers. So it's so it's interesting, like what you said, when people that have come to see you and me, I tell them, I'm just reminding you of everything that you already know inside. You already have this. I'm just, you know, helping you put on that light switch so you can finally see, you know, the floodlight, but it was always there within you. Right. But I believe like what you're saying about COVID, how it is the biggest, you know, this is it's a great gift. You know, COVID, it affects the respiratory system, which is our fourth chakra, right? And if you think about Mother Earth, and it's like we really suffocated Mother Earth with our, it's not even just our belief system, it's the patterns that have been there for so long of just like this, you know, organization and political things and beliefs. And that's it's true. Structures is falling apart. But when things like this happen, it's a wake up call, which is affecting our respiratory, our fourth chakra, for us to actually go into our path of divine love, like really to lead with love. What we really truly need is like to be leaders of love in our life, and also of, imagine like we had like presidents and kings and queens that really led with love, not with ego. I mean, truly, it would be a beautiful place. But yeah, this is a wake up time for everyone to step out and do what they were meant to be doing. And I cannot wait until that book comes out. I cannot wait.
Well, you'll get the first copy.
Yes. Amazing. So
Yeah.
the other question I had is that when you do, and by the way, I do have this card, comes with me everywhere. And if I could tell you the brief story of how, did I ever tell you how the first time I ever saw this card?
With your dad, right?
With my dad, yeah. So
Yeah.
my father is a 3-time last stage cancer survivor. Okay, he had last stage since he was 50. In his early 50s, he was diagnosed with last stage non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And at that moment, I was studying Kabbalah. Since my early 20s, I was studying Kabbalah, and I used to scan the 72 names of God, and I used to picture the light going through my father, and so on and so forth. And miraculously, I mean, they really like gave him, I don't even know how doctors can give prognoses, because truly that's between us and the divine. So right before we met, I found, I watched the Heal documentary, and I said, I need to meet this guy. I have to meet Rob. And I went on your site, and it turned out that weekend you were in New York, and that's where I live. And I couldn't, there was a wait list beyond another wait list. And I remember your assistant telling me, if it's meant to be, you'll get in. Don't worry, just let it go. So I let it go. And then it turned out that there was a spot, and my father at the time was at the hospital. He went through a horrific accident with elevator doors crushed him. It was terrible after all of these things and trials and tribulations. And when I went to the hospital, I saw this card hanging right by his bedside. And I said to him, I said, Papa, who gave you that card? And he's like, I don't know. And it had his name in the back of the card. And my mother told me that a neighbor who attended your event in Omega months prior had a bunch of angels cards. And my parents, they've been married for 47 years. They always did everything together. She asked where my dad was, and she said he was at the hospital. And she gave him this card, and it was the day that I came to your event. So these angels cards, and this is like segue to my question, is these transmissions of lights, these angels, these beings, can anyone connect to these angels, or is it your specific, I guess, this legion of angels that come and guide through you?
Okay, let's see. So again, I just want everybody to be clear that everything I say is what I know to be true. I'm not expecting you to believe everything I say. I'm just telling you what I know to be true, and you're welcome to form your own belief around what Janet says, what I said. Doesn't matter. Yep. I don't care if you don't agree with me. I'm just telling you what I know, and what I know is what I've experienced in 17 years working with people. Okay, so people have always asked me, and that's how the card got developed, so we can do a quick answer there. People always have asked me, do I have any angels around me? Do I have any? I mean, does everybody have angels? And I would say, yes, we all have many. And they'd say, well, what do they look like? And I would try to describe them to them. and I could tell that people were like all over the place. And so I met this young lady at a farmer's market in Southern California in 2003 that was painting these gorgeous, like metaphysical paintings. And I said to her, could I commission you to paint something if I describe it to you? And she said, sure. So I did my best to describe what an angel looked like to me, which is an angel to me is not a person. It's an energy. It's an energetic beam of light coming down from the divine that reflects. It has so much reflection around it. And so it appears that there's wings, and it appears that there's these different things, but it's just a beam of light that's coming to us and then reflecting off of our light, creating an image that looks like that angel card. So that's how that angel card got created. And then we've done everything we can to spread this work as much as we can. So we give them away for free. You can go to my website and we'll send them to you for free. If you want more, we'll send you more for free, as many as you want. But anyway, so we put that image. I have a big image of a huge painting that she did, but then that image is a photo of the painting, and it's been infused with the same energy that we work with, which is divine love and light, which is unconditional love and bliss. So that's the energy that I work with through the divine. So let's get to your question. So this is what I know to be true. And I will tell you things that you may or may not agree with based on your religious backgrounds, because I know how I was trained when I was in a religious family. So here's what I know. Always, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there are multiple angelic beings around you, and they're different. You have angels, which are the beings of light, beams of light coming from God, the divine, God, goddess, whatever you want to call that source of energy. You have those. You have master beings who have been in the human body. So they're master beings because they know what it feels like to be you. So there's human forms around you that look like humans, but they're master beings. Then you have these angelic, like super beings, like Jesus, Mary, but they can be, if you're Jewish and you don't believe in Jesus, it could be a different being that you believe in. So it doesn't matter. They will show up in the way that's most meaningful to you. Just because it's not Jesus to you doesn't mean it's not somebody else that's equivalent to Jesus, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter, so that's why you never see me with pictures of beings around me, because my beings that I recognize may not be the ones that you recognize. Right. And if you don't recognize them, they're meaningless to you, right? So picture of Jesus to some is going to be the most important. A picture of Buddha to some, or a picture of Daffy Duck to some. It doesn't matter. Right. They're all the same. So here's what I know to be true, and I want everybody to understand. Always, 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 the beings around you are changing. They're not always the same. People go to psychics, and the psychic says, right now around you, Rob, you have, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And these beings are around you. So you write down, or you get the tape, and it says, I'm always surrounded by Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So every time you do prayer, these are my master beings. What are you laughing at?
Mine is Mickey and Minnie, so okay. We're good.
Well, I usually use them, so I didn't want to crowd it. So I say to folks, okay, so in that moment of time, those were the beings around you. Right. But as soon as your emotional state changes, your physical state changes, anything about you changes, all the beings around you change. So in that psychic reading, they could have been the beings that were holding space for you so the psychic could read you. But as soon as you walked outside and walked towards the bus stop, the beings around you were protecting you from the other energies as you were walking to the bus stop. Or if you're lost in the woods, you get the Boy Scout, Girl Scout beings. Or if you're in the hospital, you get the right. Master healers. They will change as often as your emotions change or your situation changes. How do I know? How do I know this to be true? Well, I mean, I can see things, first of all, but in 2003, after I had this awakening, I decided to go to Australia
Oh, wow.
just because I had lots of United Airline miles. And I thought, if I don't go now, I'll probably never go. So I went to Australia, and here's why I went. Um, I thought that if I went to Australia and said I was a shaman from the United States, I wouldn't have a reputation. I could start working with people, and they wouldn't have expectation because they didn't know who I was, except I was some shaman guy from the U.S. and I was in my 50s, so I looked like I could be, right. And I traveled around Australia and did work. I did healing circles for people, even though I'd probably done 10 healings before I went to Australia, because I figured if I went someplace unknown, I'd be more comfortable. I wasn't trying to live up to some reputation, and I could practice on people. And I was, of course, divinely guided to go. So I went to Australia, and in my travels there, I came across this amazing metaphysical crystal shop that had a real, not a biofeedback, but a real Kirlian camera.
Oh, wow.
The camera that can actually photograph your energy
Boy.
field and all the
Wow.
beings that are in it. Actually photograph it. And they wanted $50 a shot, right? And I didn't even have $5. So I pleaded with them and said, I'm a shaman from America. And I'll work on your whole staff if you'll take 10 pictures of me. And they're like, why do you want 10 pictures? And I said, I want you to take a different picture every 10 seconds. I want to try something. So this is what I did. My first picture was, I thought of the happiest day of my life, and I let all that joy come in my body, click.
Oh, wow.
Then I went to when I was really afraid, click, really angry, click, really different emotions. I went to 10 different emotional places, and then I looked at the photos. They were all different. My light body expanded and contracted. The beings in and around me changed every time. Everything changed every time I changed. And I went, that's what I thought. I've just proven it with a camera, right? So that's how I know. I mean, that's my scientific backup for that. The only thing that's remained constant in those 10 photographs was my guardian angel.
That was the question, yeah.
Right. So I know that I'm always protected. My guardian angel is always with me, has been with me since my first breath, and will be with me through my passage into the next layer of life, whatever that is. Constant, 24/7. So what I do is I always call to all appropriate beings who are to be with me now. I am grateful. I don't try to remember Huey, Dewey, Louie, Mickey and Minnie, Daffy, Donald. I don't try to remember who I think is going to be there, because I'm never going to be right. And it's not important. They don't need to be known. They just want to be recognized. So if I say I'm grateful to all the beings who are with me now, all the appropriate beings are with me now, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. Thank you. I've recognized everybody. I haven't left anybody out. And I know they're always the appropriate for me now. And 5 seconds from now, that can change. And they'll all change. Does that make sense, Janet?
No, it totally makes sense. So what I feel, this is what I'm getting, is that as we raise our vibrations and our auric field expands, because we're allowing that bandwidth, then we're allowing for the angelic beings that can assist us during that time. They're there. But when we are in grief or when we are angry, our vessel then decreases. But there are beings there also. We just can't, we decrease it, right? We're not open to receive. Is that what happens?
Yeah, I mean, so my belief again is that
Right.
when you're the most open is when you're the most protected. And everybody goes, oh, I got to pull my energy and I'm going into Walmart, right? And I'm like, no, I'm going into Walmart, right? You know, what happens is if we get scared, we pull everything close. If we get told we're sick, we pull everything close.
Yes.
And Instead, when you're close, you can't hold a lot of divine light. When you're open, you can hold a lot of divine light. So my question is, if you're feeling sick or you're feeling scared or you're going into Walmart, and I apologize to Walmart, the right thing to do is
Open.
expand your light body, because then you're completely protected. When you're like this, you're completely vulnerable. And so we, as a natural response, fear, anger, sickness, instead of this.
Right.
And the more light you carry, the more beings that can be in your light body with you, the less light your body, you have the same amount of beings, but they can't join with you because there's no place for them to be. They're standing around you like a crowd of strangers. Are like, oh, whenever he opens his light body, we'll jump in. But there's no place for him when you're like this. There's plenty of room for him when you're like this.
That's amazing. And does your guardian angel, like since the moment of creation, the moment that your soul was created, is it the same guardian angel that goes from lifetime to lifetime? That it's
Often,
basic.
often doesn't have to be. And people think, and I'm not here to pop any balloons, because I'm not saying I'm right. People often think that Uncle Joey or Aunt Millie are their guardian angel.
Right.
And very rare for a human that you know of that's been in your lineage to be your guardian angel. It can happen, but it's very rare, because most of us are still working stuff out. We're not can you think of the one guardian that stays with you your whole life, how advanced that energetic being must be to be able to do that? It's probably not going to be your Uncle Louie, right? And no offense to your uncle or your brother or whoever you think it is. Yeah, you can have all these people around you and they will come and go with you, but you want a pillar of light as your guardian, and that's probably not going to be anybody you know. It may be a name you recognize if somebody told you, but that never changes. They're always there.
That's amazing.
And you have free will, so
exactly.
remember that part. So many people wait for, well, okay, guardian angel, do this.
No.
No.
We have to ask, right, to be led. That I give permission. Please show me the way.
Now. Always use the word now.
I learned that
right now.
This weekend. Yeah. Right now, exactly, because where they are from, there's no time of before or during or after. It's all in this one quantum field. But my question to you is also, what advice would you give to people that really want to journey into this path of healing, but they feel that they may be ostracized by their family, by society, by community? I mean, I myself, I came out of the spiritual closet, right, per se. Like all of my family members, most of them are physicians, professionals, and here I am. I do have a degree in education and furthered my studies in computer science, but this was my calling, and I feared for so long of the outside. What will they think? What will they think? So what advice do you have for people to stand and step into this path of healing if this is what their soul is calling?
So let me, if I can, Jenna, let me back up and just say one other thing about the beings around us first. One of the things I hear all the time, and it's part of the church's teaching, and I'm not bashing anything, I'm just observing, is that we tend to think that we are being greedy or taking away from others if we ask for help. So it's like, I can't ask for that in my prayer, because if I do, somebody else is not going to get it, or I shouldn't ask so much, or I'm being greedy, I'm being selfish, I'm being self-centered. And this is what I know to be true, and I really want you guys to pay attention to this, because it's important. All the beings that are working with us are on a spiritual path as well. There's always an energy exchange. So we think we're taking, right? When we ask the all appropriate beings who are with me now to help me now with this math test, or I'm stuck in traffic, or this health issue, or whatever it is, when we ask for help, and we actually allow them to help us, they ascend and they move forward on their path because they're ascending by helping us. So understand there's always an energy exchange. This is not me taking, this is me exchanging their help. I'm helping them, they're helping me. I'm helping them, they're helping me. So the more we ask, the more we're helping them, and the more we're helping us and all the people around us, our lineage, and all mankind. So please let go of any belief that you have that, like the genie, you only get 3 wishes your whole life,
Right.
or I'm being greedy, or I'm being selfish, or whatever. I'm asking for stuff all day long, because I'm working with people, and I'm also asking them for me. And I know that they're so excited to help us because them helping us helps them move up their path, ascend, and become higher vibration, right? So it's always an energy exchange. The other thing I want to say really quickly, and I promise I'll answer your question, is that in my path, I have learned that the beings around me will change as I change. So people get used to, people, especially people that can see or feel or know they can feel this set of beings always around them. And they get comfort in that. I did that. I used to call them the boys. They were my buddies, my best friends, the boys. And even though they were feminine and masculine, I called them the boys. And one day I started doing a healing session and the boys weren't there. And I was freaked out. I thought I must have lingered too long at looking at some beautiful lady, or, who knows? I had an impure thought, or I shouldn't have gotten a scratch off card. I mean, your mind goes crazy. Like, what did I do?
Yeah, punishment or fear. Yep.
They left. And I luckily had a shaman friend in Sedona, and I said, I don't know what to do. I've pissed off my guides. And she said, no, you haven't. She said, you're looking for them, and she used the example. You always look to the left because they're always going to be there. And you're looking to the left and they're not there, are they? How about look to the right?
Look to the right, yeah.
And or look behind you, or look somewhere else. You're looking for something that doesn't exist anymore. You've got new guides because you're different. Yeah. And so there they are. And I'm like, okay, so that happens and happens and happens. So it doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means you did something right.
So they're not the boys anymore. They were the men now.
I went to the men, and then I called them the Men in Black. And I always have fun names for them because they have a sense of humor.
Love that. All
right, let me answer your question. So I actually answered this question on the Omega weekend, and I hope it's okay if I use the same answer.
Please do.
It's me. It's my personal experience. So, remember, my parents were religious. They did an exorcism on me. They thought I was the devil child. 45 years later, I proudly announced to the same parents, obviously, that I'm moving to Sedona because I'm a healer. Do you think they were excited?
That went well, right?
They told me, get the hell out of their house now. I'm in my 50s, they're in their 80s, and they're still bringing up all kinds of guilt and fear and anxiety in me by telling me what to do. I'm a grown man, I thought. So I left their house, and my mother wrote me this nasty letter and told me how horrible I was. I was always the worst child and all this stuff. And I was devastated. And so this was like in February, right? So I didn't have any contact with my parents until the next Christmas. They had moved to Denver, and I drove from Sedona to Denver. I'm like, it's Christmas Day. My parents have to be nice to me on Christmas Day. It's Christmas morning, for God's sakes. I've just driven all night from Sedona. I drive up to my parents' house, and the door's locked, so I knock on the door. My mom opens the door and says, oh, it's you, and closes the door in my face, and I hear the door lock. Christmas morning.
Wow.
So, can you imagine? I'm devastated in my 50s. I'm like, my own parents, and the rest of my siblings are in the house. Everybody's gathered in the house, and I'm not allowed to come in. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm telling you this because it is very important teaching that I learned. I drove back to Sedona. I was devastated. I spent 3 months trying to figure out how I could change. And again, I had a shaman friend in Sedona who said, why are you showing up the way you're showing up? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, you're showing up trying to be who you think your parents want you to be. So you're showing up in an untruth. You're showing up in a lie. You're showing up completely out of integrity. You're who you are. Go back to your parents, own it, show up as the healer you are, and see what happens. So I'm like, okay. So I got back in the car. I left my medicine bag on. I left all my necklaces and bracelets and all my paraphernalia.
Crystals, yeah.
The shamans, had my shaman outfit on, right? Got back in the car. This is absolutely true. Drove to Denver. It was early morning again, knocked on the door of my parents' house. My mother answered, opened the door and said, Rob, where have you been? Come on in. What's going on? Okay. The only difference was I showed up in my integrity and my truth, in my power. So when people say, I don't know how to act in front of other people, it's because you're trying to act instead of being who you really are. The energy of acting, of lying, of deceiving, of trying to deceive, of trying to be something you're not is very powerful, and it brings people's emotions up, and it will challenge you every time. People used to say to me all the time, I got a family reunion next week and I don't want to go because every time I go, there's a fight. And I say, why do you think there's a fight? Well, because they don't like me. And I'm like, so show up. You're trying to show up as the child you think they expect you to be. Show up as who you really frickin' are and stand in your power, stand in your truth. Damn it, this is me. I don't care what you think, right? It changes everything. It changed my life. I learned such a lesson from that. My parents from that day on were so engaged and interested and actually let me work on them.
That's amazing.
And the only difference was I decided to show up as my truthful Rob, not who I thought they wanted to see. Because they energetically, even my parents could see through my lie, and that was repelling to them and disgusting to them.
Because it's a mask. It was a facade that we were wearing,
right? It wasn't
right?
true. It wasn't true. It was like I had a scary mask on, trying to fake it instead of Rob mask, the real Rob, by being honest. So try that.
So just of them being honest and authentic, and that's it, you know? Yeah, I remember family reunions also, and they would be like, hey, Janet, how's that spiritual thing going for you? I'm like, it's going. And now they're calling me, what should I do about this business?
Exactly.
And I'm like, you have the answers. You have the answers. But Rob, this has been amazing. Are there any last tips or anything that your soul is being drawn to tell the viewers during this time of how we can all elevate the consciousness and the vibrations all together? Is there anything that
there's you know, I do these calls that are, you know, channelings from the masters, their teachings and their healings, and you know, they started in October a year ago talking about overwhelm, and so they did a series about overwhelm, and they were talking about being overwhelmed by events to come. And in October we had no idea of COVID, but they were giving us a really good idea of something coming. And so what they've been talking about a lot this summer is how we as human beings continue to react with emotions. So, you know, the primary emotion right now is fear. You know, am I going to get COVID? Am I going to have any money? Am I going to lose my job? Is somebody going to get reelected? I mean, all these things are fear-based.
Yes.
And what happens is when we go into our own insecurities and our own fears, we project all that fear down into our body, which gets projected out into our energy body, our aura, our light body, whatever you want to call it. And that then gets projected back into the collective consciousness. So the fear that's being projected, we're receiving it and we're projecting it out even and making it stronger.
Right, it's like a pulse.
It's
Yeah.
like a pulse. We're feeding the
Hmm.
fear that's being fed us, and that's not going to work, right? So, what they've been talking about is to understand what's going on and notice, be an observer, not a participant in what's being projected at you, and instead of being a participant in the fear energy, be a participant in the love and compassion energy. So when you feel the fear being projected at you, don't go into anger and fear and worry and doubt and all that stuff. Grab your heart, do this, tap on your heart and go, I'm sending love and compassion to my body and to the planet, and project that out. Because that's where all this is going, is bringing everybody into their heart. And when you project out love and compassion, it tends to start neutralizing all that fear. Fear cannot survive in an environment of love and compassion.
Love.
But fear is being projected out by not everybody, but everybody's getting projected it, and we're buying into it and pushing it out and making it stronger. The bottom line is, God's not going to lose this contest, this battle.
Mm-mm.
Not going to happen. But we're going to make it as long and as tough as we make it by continuing to buy in to the lies and the untruths and the fear, instead of standing in your power, knowing what's true, projecting out love and compassion to yourself and to the world. That's what's going to change.
That's exactly right.
That's it.
Oh, amazing, amazing, amazing. But I do want to welcome everybody, and I invite everyone to really check out Rob on robwergin.com and sign up on the monthly global transmissions. They are life-changing. And truly, like every single month that each experience is never the same. The next experience you may have not, had like amazing epiphanies and something physical happens, but all these changes are such a subtle level, and you may feel it months later, days later, but it really is truly magical, all of these transmissions and the messages from the masters. So I do want to thank you for your time, and also for aiding me in my healing journey and my spiritual path as well, because truly I'm able now to live my authentic truth, and you're part of that, where I used to have this stigma that there's no PhD at the end of the initials after my name. And just by being yourself, that's all that you need, because the truth is the
But
truth. And
yep, I'll set you free, as they say.
thank you for your time. Thank you for your divine light and for all that you do. I love you and thank you.
I love you too, my friend.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.